Good afternoon, my community. Woo-wee. So we are in a high pressure pattern and we are going to be blazing hot here in Texas. But we want to talk about the hurricane season and severe weather that they are saying may be upping the ante a little bit this year with the El Nino. And we want to talk about some of the things that we have in our pantry that we have prepared for and some of the things you may need in your pantry. Stay tuned. So one of our community members and long-term subscribers is Kristen with Vermont Gardening Adventures. And guys, they are suffering catastrophic floods up there. You guys know it. Some of you may be up there, Joyce. I think that you might be in that area. Please let us know that you're okay. But one of the things that Kristen is sharing is that they are under a boil water notice. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of bottled water or potable water on hand. In our back pantry, we have two 55-gallon drums of potable water. My husband and I also are farmers, and so we grow our own food and we can it up. So where you're going to run into issues is if you have food in the freezer, you need to make sure you have a generator to keep that food fresh. Otherwise, you want to start learning how to can, and you want to keep canned food on hand. That's very important, guys. So in the event that your electricity goes out and your freezers are down, you have ready-to-eat food on the shelf. We also buy canned food, and we also keep our flour and our sugars in jars back here in our pantry. These are all needs in case that we do without, or you do without, any kind of electricity or water shortage for any length of time. For my household, most importantly, my husband's a carnivore. We have to have canned meat. So this is where our canned meat is going to come into play, guys. If you have meat in your freezer and your electricity goes out, you may lose that unless you have a giant barbecue. So you want to make sure and have some canned meats on hand. We keep our pantry stocked with ready-to-eat food for any emergency or any day of the week when we're deciding on what we're going to have for dinner. We also keep a load of batteries, guys, because we do have lots of those small flashlights. So make sure you have batteries on hand. Freeze-dried food is also good as long as you have access to water. This freeze-dried food is pantry stable, and you can just add a little bit of hot water to it, and you have a ready-made meal. It's great to have beans and rice on hand, guys, but if you don't have water, you can't really cook it. So having your canned goods ready to eat, this is where these are going to come into play. We keep powdered Gatorade on hand because after hurricanes and stuff, the weather tends to get humid, it tends to get hot, and you're going to need something to hydrate yourself and your family. Don't forget to keep snacks on hand. Nuts are a wonderful thing to vacuum seal in a jar to keep on hand. They are loaded with protein and they are loaded with magnesium and all other sorts of health benefits. Paper plates, paper cups, trays, cutlery. These are all things you need to make sure you have on hand. Don't forget a good first aid kit, which we do have one up there, and also include your candles. This is a long life candle. It's 115 hours. You want to keep something like this on hand in case you need light. Lamp oil. These will go in your little lanterns that accept oil or any of your antique lanterns in your house. And this is smokeless. These little lanterns here you can get on Amazon. Guys, I got these I think for $5 or $8, and this is what we'll put that oil into if we have to use them. We also keep a Van Powers Super Power Pro battery backup on hand. This will charge our computers, it will charge our phones, it can run a small air conditioner, it can run any of your smaller appliances. So it's important to start researching backup batteries. That Van Pro system has backup, a battery system in it that is charged by solar panels. If you do not have a lot of space to store water, you may want to look at getting a water distiller. This will help purify any water that you can get your hands on. And we picked this up at Viver very reasonably. I did a video on it probably about 6 or 7 weeks ago. You can go check it out. A generator. I know many of our community members have generators, but we have a dual power generator that will power on propane or gasoline. We do keep quite a bit of propane on hand. But you need to make sure you have that fuel, whether it's gasoline, whether it's diesel, unleaded, or whether it's propane. You're gonna need to keep your fuel on hand to keep that generator going. So if you have to power up your refrigerator or a window unit to keep your family safe and cool in extreme temps, so make sure you look into a generator. Power tools. If you have cordless power tools, you want to make sure that your batteries are charged at all times, guys, in case you have to make any minor repairs, board up your windows, board up doors. Make sure you have fasteners and screws, all of that on hand so that if you have to secure your property. Make sure your pets are taken care of. Make sure you have a pet crate, a bowl to put water in, plenty of pet food, whether it's cat or dog food. A manual hand crank can opener, guys, because a lot of those canned goods won't do us any good if I'm relying on an electric can opener in there. So make sure you have a hand operated can opener. Smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, carbon monoxide detectors, these are all battery operated with exception of the fire extinguisher that will tell you if there's a problem in your home in the event you're having a gas leak or there's a fire somewhere in your property. Start saving your bottled water bottles after you consume them. You can go ahead and fill them up and freeze them in the freezer, which will help keep your food colder a little bit longer. Tarps in case you have to cover your roof or in case you need to make a makeshift tent in your yard to give some shade from the sun for your family. Make sure you get some tarps on hand. Battery operated misting fans. They got the little fans that go around your neck that have a mist. Get those battery operated misting fans so that in the event you do not have electricity and you do not have any air conditioning, you can put water in those little misters and turn them on and keep yourself cool. Battery operated radios or hand cranks, we've got both. And we keep batteries on hand. I've got a little transistor that I just absolutely love. A good weather radio that may be a hand crank. And get you some bathing wipes, rinse free, guys. We keep these personal body wipes on hand in case we're unable to shower or bathe. These are very large in their size and they will easily take care of your sanitary and your hygiene needs in the event you do not have any water. Never let your car go below half a tank in gas in case you have to flee. In fact, I would say always keep it on at least 3/4 of a tank. But you never know when you might have to take shelter in your car or you might have to get out of somewhere really fast and you want to make sure you have gas to get out of there. If you have littles, board games, jigsaw puzzles, make sure you have something to keep the littles occupied in the event they are unable to use any of their electronics, because I know electronics is really big with the kids right now with my grandson. I mean, he loves his electronics, but guys, in the event that there's no electricity and there's no internet, you need to make sure you have something to keep the littles occupied. Spray paint in case you have to spray paint the outside of your house asking for help or your roof. Also wasp spray. Wasp spray is not just for wasp, guys. It can also be a deterrent if used in self-defense. Keep wasp spray on hand. It shoots 16 feet, dead aim to the face. Make sure you have gas for that gas grill, guys, because if you have to cook outside, you're going to need that propane. And I would actually say you need probably 2 or 3 tanks just in case it's an extended event. Everybody runs for the milk, bread, and eggs. We do that here in Texas. And even though, guys, we're not on the coast, we are close enough that a hurricane could come up over us as a tropical storm and cause a lot of the same issues that a hurricane could. We can get the high winds, we can get the heavy rains, we can get the hail damage, we can get all kinds of things that those of you on the coast get. Yes, it might not be as concentrated and not as bad, but we can still get it here in Texas. So when everybody makes a run for milk, bread, and eggs, you're limited as to what you're going to be able to do with that. Yeah, it'll feed you if you have a place to cook it, and it'll feed you if you're only wanting to drink some milk and eat some bread. So you have to have ready-made foods on hand. Kristen has told me up in Vermont, a lot of the roads are washed out. So there's people up there, up yonder, that are not going to be able to get to the store. And if they are able to get to the store, there may not be a store for them to get to. So you want to make sure, guys, make sure that you have at least 14 days of food on hand and water just in case you are trapped in your home. I mean, that to me would be a very good case scenario if I had a home that was standing and I could stay here protected, but it's not going to do me any good if I don't have any food and water. And community. Guys, get to know your neighbors, get to know your community. That is very important to us, and you should know from our channel that we are very community minded. So get to know your neighbors, because you may need them. You may need them to help you, or they may need you to help them. So stay in contact with your neighbors. In Florida especially, I know there's a lot of snowbirds down there, but there's also a lot of elderly. Be sure and know where your elderly neighbors are so that you can check on them. If they're single, guys, you need to make sure and check on the elderly, know that they're okay. And our motto is a little for you and some for your neighbor too. Be sure and look out for your neighbors, especially your elderlies. There are other things that you should have on hand that I'm not going to mention. I think the most of you will be able to figure that out. But yeah, you need to make sure you have certain things on hand. Yep, that's about all I'm going to say about that. So right now, with the exception of the Northeast, everybody's garden should be okay. And you should have the ability to learn how to preserve your food, whether it's freeze drying, dehydrating, or canning. These are things that you want to look into doing. Your freezer, yes, our freezers are full, but if we lose electricity, we're only going to be able to keep probably one going. So keep that in mind. Learn to dehydrate, learn to can, learn to freeze dry. And if you can't afford a freeze dryer, then go to dehydrating, because I know there's dehydrators you can get out there very reasonably. Keep you a big box of hefty trash bags on hand, guys. Not only can you use them to pick up debris that you might have around your property, but you can use them as raincoats and as rain protection. Make each of your family members a backpack with underwear, socks, a couple of changes of clothes, your medications, anything that you think you and your family is going to need if you have to leave your home. Very simple to do, guys. Just put everything that you think your family is going to be able to need. An extra toothbrush, little mini sizes of toothpaste, little mini sizes of mouthwash, a little first aid kit, even toothache medicine. And I'm saying that, guys, because I got a bad tooth over here and I got to go to the dentist in the morning. So make sure you have toothache medicine, maybe crown repair kits. Those are all very cheap. You can pick them up on Amazon, or you can pick them up at CVS or at Walgreens. Just make sure you get things covered. And last but not least, but cash. In the event that all electricity is out, you're going to want to have cash on hand in case you have to pay cash at a gas station or at a convenience store or at a fast food restaurant. And I'm going to tell you a story. My daughter and my son-in-law, my grandson, in the winter storm of 2021, they headed over here. It took them a couple hours to get here. They stopped at McDonald's because my grandson hadn't eaten in a very long time. And they did their order, and guess what? They were not accepting any debit cards or any credit cards. You had to have cash. And so Grandma got to fix breakfast, which was my privilege and my honor. But keep cash on hand at all times. You determine how much you need. Start learning how to barter. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you a good example of bartering. So I got the estimate on my truck today, and it's exactly what we thought it was going to be, about $9,500. But our mechanic is local, and he does not charge us for labor. And in exchange for this bartering, Greg is an IT guy, and he works on all of his computers and all of his mechanics equipment, and they have an agreement. All the other one has to pay for is the parts, but the labor is free. So learn to barter, guys. Learn to barter. Put some things on hand that you can barter with, whether it's alcohol, whether it's coffee, whether it's certain food items. Learn to barter, and make sure you have certain things that you can trade for something you and your family may need, for something that you have on hand that you don't need. Keep a little bit of candy on hand. That's going to suffice for the kiddos in the event that they start to get grumpy. I wouldn't say chocolate because that's probably going to melt, but you can get some hard candies or some Skittles or something like that to keep on hand to reward the kiddos in trying situations, kind of reward them and calm them down a bit. I know sugar is not the best thing to calm them down, but if you can bribe them a little bit and get them to settle down with some treats, then you're going to be doing fantastic with the kids. By all means, look out for one another. Look out for one another. in my rescue pack or in my pack that if I feel like I have to leave, I keep a Bible. I keep my Bible because who am I going to run to in the event that some disaster happens? I'm going to run to the Lord, and I want my Bible on hand so I can sit and read it, and I can get some relief, and I can get some peace, and I can get some comfort from our Father above. So one of my community members, or our community members, suggested this. She does live in Florida, and I'm sure she has encountered many hurricanes. But guys, again, just because we're in Texas, or just because you may be in Alabama or Mississippi or Georgia or Kentucky or on the northeast coast, doesn't mean, guys, that you might not suffer the repercussions of a hurricane that may come up over you as a tropical storm, or a hurricane full blown all the way up the east coast, Florida, all the way down the Gulf Coast. These are all things we need to think about, and I hope this helps you. God bless you all. Please subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up. We love you all. Stay tuned. We got more great videos coming up.